Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. As we had mentioned in the opening, we are very pleased to be celebrating this month of March as National Women's History Month. We're very fortunate to have our guest because she is the founder of the largest women's poker organization, who is the sponsor of this month. Poker League of Nations, as I mentioned, is the world's largest and most internationally represented women's poker organization. Go to Poker League of Nations and you can join for free. There's a lot of free content about poker, and you can access this content 24/7. Go to pokerleagueofnations.com. We're very pleased to have the founder of PLON, or Poker League of Nations, Lena Evans. Lena, thanks for joining us here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show.
Hi, Bernard. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm excited to answer your questions and give you some insight and the inside scoop on whatever you're interested in.
Well, I've been very fortunate to work with you in the past. I've done some seminars and education on your site, and have had really great feedback from everyone there, and love working with the group. Let's talk a little bit about the Poker League of Nations. Again, they are sponsoring this incredible month, and I'm very fortunate and I'm very pleased that we're able to put this month of celebration together for the National Women's History Month. And what better to focus on that during this month, and also focusing on poker. And so I'd like to know a little bit more about the Poker League of Nations and people who are out there listening that want to join.
Yes, thank you for that amazing introduction. Yeah, we're so, Poker League of Nations, and we just got PLON. We've made a word out of our initials. So proud to be supporting you and increasing information about women in poker. And of course, Women's History Month being March, we're really pleased to be able to join you and perhaps engage more women to play poker. But Poker League of Nations is really the culmination of my passion for poker and my years of playing. It started out as sort of jet set poker ladies, and it was a group where I was able to organize poker travel with my girlfriends, and at the time there were gentlemen as well who would travel and join us. But so it was sort of a vehicle for the ladies to join us. But then about 4 years ago, I was thinking, I really want to be able to reach more women, not just my immediate friends. So I opened up wide, basically let anybody join, so a lot of strangers came on board. It was like, tell a friend and they tell a friend, the commercial. Sure. Where you start populating all these friends.
That's right.
In
That's right.
So
that's old school. Now some of the youngsters won't know that. I think it was like Fabergé or something.
I think I just gave us away.
Yeah, you just dated us. Right.
But so we became the world's largest very quickly. And currently our membership is nearly 7,500 members. And we're not 100% women in the Facebook group, because we also include certain gentlemen who are in the industry like yourself. Right. And other luminaries and poker pros, but casino owners, tournament directors, certainly some dealers, and a lot of media and press. So, but it's about supporting the women, pushing out information about tournaments and travel. But really, there's so much more involved in Poker League of Nations. We have so much to offer, and we're just really happy to be here to talk about it. So what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, what I've said a lot is that obviously in 2003, when Chris Moneymaker did what he did, there was a tremendous boom in poker. And there have been spurts here and there. Obviously, after Black Friday, Europe and outside of the US, there was a big boom in poker. Joseph Hashem wins in 2005, big boom in Australia and New Zealand, and also the Asian region. But I still believe, and I've said this many times, is that 50%, if not more, of the population of this world is women. And that population is very underrepresented in the world of poker. When you go and play in a tournament, less than 5% of a tournament is usually women. And if there is one easy way to increase the number of people who play poker and have another boom, it would be the scenario of women really jumping aboard. And so that's really kind of where I came about of wanting to celebrate this month. And we also had some women previously in 2021 who made an impact. As we mentioned, we're going to have on Laura Eisenberg, who won the women's event, and also Kaina England, who is the first woman to win the Mid-Stakes Poker Tour, or MSPT, Player of the Year. And so I thought it would be a perfect time to have this scenario. And I think that hopefully this will contribute, even in a small way, of increasing the number of women who play poker and increase, obviously, the numbers. That's always good for the world of poker. Talk a little bit about your website itself. What on the web, what do you have? You talked about the free content. I've been fortunate to give some of that free content, but what other information and content do you have for people who want to potentially join the site?
Yeah, thanks for that information and sharing it. But yes, it's true. In any open field, which is obviously open field is men and women. Some people mistakenly call open fields mixed fields, but we call them open fields, and mixed games are different than open fields.
Sure.
But it's true that in open fields, the women in the tournament are less than 5%. And also supporting what you said, really, so if you consider that men are 95% of a poker tournament, how else are you going to grow player fields and prize pools if you don't, support women? And so that's what we're trying to do. And it's a benefit for the whole industry, because we are going to increase prize pools and player fields as a result. But yeah, so there are lots of things that PLON has to offer. I mean, our website has a lot of information, but typically the women would come into our private poker, our private Facebook group. That's really where it all happens. We call it the room where it happens.
Right.
And in that group, we offer, as you mentioned, and thank you, and lots of other top luminary and professional poker players, free education. So no cost education. And we've had the likes of not only yourself amazingly talking about reading people, which is sort of your I think your area of expertise from what I understand. But we've had Daniel Negreanu and Antonio Esfandiari, Phil Hellmuth multiple times, and just Moneymaker, Raymer, you name it, we've had them. Chrissy B, Maria Ho. So we offer more non-cost education than any other organization for women. And we also stake women into tournaments. Now, we did an exhaustive study about 2 years ago. We wanted to know, why don't more women play poker?
Right.
And it's not what maybe some people on the face of it might think, oh, they're intimidated or people don't accept them at the table. As a strong woman and an individual who's fierce, I don't really feel that. I never felt unwelcome at a table. I never felt threatened at a table. I just never felt that personally. And most women I talked to didn't. So we had this exhaustive study, and it was we compiled the information. And what we found out is that the top reason women don't play more poker is bankroll. Okay, and we can understand why, because women, typically, especially if they're single, they're out, at their traditional jobs and earning. And if they're head of a household, then they're leading the household, raising the children, and supporting the husband as he works typically, and she's managing the household. And then the second reason that women weren't playing more poker was proximity to a card room or casino. So if you take those two reasons women aren't playing and you address those, which is what we did, this is how we've increased activity with women. So in order to help women who have a lack of bankroll, we stake them. So we have multiple levels and approaches to staking women. The first and simplest being, I have something we call the Founders Fund. So as founder of Poker League of Nations, I personally fund and support the organization. And I fund private staking of individual women to play in not only online, but live events. So that's the Founders Fund. And then we have an investment group called PLON Power Investment Group. anybody could buy shares in women's poker by joining PLON Power. But if a woman would like to be staked by the PLON Power investment group, she has to buy at least one share. And typically the share could be $25, could be $50, could be $100. But we've staked women into lots of big events, including high rollers, the WSOP main event, WT main event, lots of important events. So that's PLON Power Investment Group. And so also to not only address the bankroll issue and proximity to card room or poker room, we brought those two together and we bring poker to them. So we have Poker League of Nations leagues all over the world. So like, for instance, I run the San Diego League. So once a month or twice a month now, because our WSOP just was jammed up so quickly from the last one, October to May. So now we play twice a month, but typically it would be once a month because you have 12 months to prepare.
Sure.
But so once a month or twice a month, the ladies come over. So we have a table of 10. We play. A certain amount of our buy-in goes to stake a woman into the main event and other events, including other open events. And then another portion is like sort of a daily payout. So when you show up, you could win some cash and basically free roll that day. But we do this all over the world. So we've done it in Australia, in Canada, of course, all over the USA, in multiple states. And we've given the power to the women on the ground. So anyone can do this. So if Katie from Oregon came to us and said, I'd like to host a PLON league in Oregon. Okay, so awesome. We give her the support, give her the tools, including suggested structure. If she doesn't have a poker table or cards, we show her how to acquire one or help her acquire one very inexpensively. So we give them the tools to bring the poker to themselves and the ladies. So
awesome.
There are different layers, and we do more for women than any other group, and we're so proud of that. And my life's work has been philanthropy for many, many years, decades. And so I just sort of applied my charity work, my philanthropy philosophy into poker and helping women specifically. So you're not, getting paid. I'm support. It's, in charity, you're helping people, you're giving. And it's so satisfying because we have increased exponentially the participation of women in not only open fields, especially the main event. We've made strides and put multiple women in main events, but also online. Some women never played online before, and we have a very rich and robust online support community, multiple leagues, free rolls where they can practice, socialize on Zoom. So there's just so many different layers of what we do. And in addition to celebrating the successes. And when I say success, I don't mean just, someone who won. You could have finished 13th or 20th or 35th, but we're proud of that. And if you were the last woman standing, even at 35th out of a field of 500 and something, that's huge. So we celebrate that, and always accolades in our group for the women. And and we also have we care about women, and we care about supporting the women in the poker community. So we created a nonprofit called PLON Cares.
Right.
So another benefit of being in our group is that if you have some difficulties, you could come to us and say, I having, breast cancer surgery, or I'm recovering from this type of surgery, or recently we had a member who had a stroke. We had a member who had gone through breast cancer, and we had another member who was having a very difficult and protracted child custody battle. So we would help them. We would either fund, personally, or we would have an online event where there's a donation involved. And all of our funds, 100% of our funds in our nonprofit go back to the ladies in our community. We don't have, any paid managers. We don't take any fees. They're all absorbed by, the organizers, and 100% is to support the ladies. So when you ask, what are the benefits? What do you do? I think the list is shorter. I know I've just gone on for a few minutes. I think the list would be shorter. Like, what is it we don't do? And maybe I'll do that too.
Well, what I love is that it's really supporting the community that, as we talked about, is not as big as it really, really can be. And what I really like about it is that there are, I'm sure, some women listening right now, and I'm hoping that if somebody even had a inkling of starting something, this will really kickstart them of, listen, you don't even have a deck of cards and chips. We'll help you out. I mean, there are some people who are like, I don't even know how to begin. Like, what am I going to do? And this is why I wanted to have you on, because if I'm going to celebrate this month to try to help grow the women in poker, they got to start. And some people, like we just talked about, they don't even know where to start. They think it's fun. They watch people that their friends play, but they're like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you right from that beginning. So anyone across who's listening to the show, the thousands of people who are listening to the show, who, whether it's in the States or outside of the States, it doesn't matter. If you are interested, go to pokerleagueofnations.com, contact them, and just get something off the ground. Get 5, 6, 7, 8 people and have something playing, a single table discussions, talk about it, and help grow poker. We're going to do this one step at a time. And if we got multiple groups, who knows where it goes.
Exactly. And as I say, sort of leading on to what you say, is that, like you said, some people don't even have their deck of cards. They don't have a dealer button. No problem. We give them resource and information, and it's wonderful. It's so satisfying to be able to help people, because here's the thing about, talent and gifts, and those aren't always money related. So when I talk about charity and I do my philanthropy, sometimes people think, I can't support charities because I don't have any money, or I can't, but you don't need that. You have time, and I know you have some talents that can be useful. So like if we apply it to a philanthropy, go volunteer at the hospital, go volunteer at the pet shelter, go volunteer and, at the senior center. So that's the same as we apply that charity concept to poker. We're going to help you, explain things to you. Literally, Bernard, there are women, there's a lot of things they don't know, like ICM,
Sure.
English. There's a lot of things they don't know. And so you were mentioning, poker discussion groups. We have poker discussion groups. You have been a wonderful guest at multiple poker discussion groups for us. Sure. And so we gather the ladies in small groups online, so it's comfortable right in your own living room. Keep, have your PJs on, whatever you want. And we have, pros and experts like yourself on and talk about the particular subject matter. Now, you talk specifically about satellites and about reading people, but there's so many different concepts and different rules that, like, even I'm still learning. We're all still learning and trying to improve and gain an advantage. And women need that. And that's why it's so satisfying to be able to offer this. And it's basically no cost for all this. And I got to say, it's, we're grateful for the community as a whole, because individuals like yourself and a long list of pros. I just say, would you kindly come on for an hour, talk to the ladies, answer questions? No problem. We've literally had no one who's ever said, no, I won't. Mm-hmm. And that is just so touching and heartwarming, because they're giving of themselves. So for me, it's super satisfying, and I have so much gratitude toward that, because it's so easy for a pro. I'm Bill. I mean, if I'm Daniel Brown, I'm too fancy for but no, they're just so giving, and so that's the spirit. Everybody has a talent, and share it. And it's not a gift until you give it. So your talent is a gift. Your time is a gift. And it's like love. It's not love until you give it, right? So think about that as your talent. And your talent could be your information, like all the information you, from your experience in your head, can share. That's so valuable. And thank you for sharing and supporting us as well. We really appreciate it.
As I said, when I was thinking about this month of women's celebration, earlier when the year turned, we have been doing, for people who have obviously been watching and listening to the show for years, and we're about to celebrate our 15th anniversary.
Bravo!
Thank you. It kind of like, we've been doing a lot of bracelet winners. And Laura Eisenberg won the women's event, so we were going to interview her. And then next thing you know, kind of England wins MSPT, and it just kind of came together. And I just said, you know what, I think this is a perfect opportunity to celebrate National Women's History Month and put this into poker, and obviously contact you and talk to you. And we've been doing work over the last year. So it really was kind of like this perfect storm that put together. And I'm glad that we could do it and talk about this. And again, I played in some events recently where I've mentioned your organization to them, and they were excited about it. And I think that all the women out there who, and by the way, this is also going out to some of the men out there who may have significant others, may have sisters, relatives, mothers, grandmothers, whatever, that are potentially, hey, you know, they've always talked about wanting to get into poker, but they haven't gotten into it. Well, this is a great opportunity for them to feel more comfortable, do it in a setting where, oh, I'm not going to get bullied by 9 other men who telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. You're in a very encouraging environment, and it's a great opportunity. So again, I really appreciate you sponsoring the month and talking about it. And I think it's a great opportunity for any woman to get involved in poker. And as we said, this is the only way that we're going to grow that segment of the population. And I think
as a whole, right?
Exactly.
Help the community as a whole. And yeah, and just sort of a little bit further along those lines, I'm writing a book as well, and based on a TEDx talk that I did. And the focus is actually not the poker community. It's the world, you know, those outside of the community, and also especially women, but everybody outside of the community, to explain to them and give them an idea of how poker is actually really beneficial for our brains, and why it's a benefit to be playing poker. So the focus is outside of our community. So we're really excited. You know, I'm really excited about this project, and really pleased too that you're part of it and collaborating with me on a chapter, you know, about reading people. Because if you think about the skills that we excel in as poker players, because we're a very special subculture, you know, of players and people in particular, because there's a skill set that's very unusual. And part of that is like being intuitive and being able to read people. Part of it, you know, is strategic thinking. And when you use your brain and you're focusing and you're really engaging it, you're going to improve your mental acuity. There's skills that we use in poker that are amazing for our real life and to make you basically like a better human. So whether that's like sharpening your focus, or like you say, reading people, or emotional discipline, because when we play, we got to be able to control our emotions, you know, get through bad beats, come off tilt. Those are all things that are super important in life too. So and not you know, honestly, not just for adults. This can apply to children too, because children can play poker. They should learn poker, because there's mathematics involved and strategy, and it's not gambling when you're just playing for chips, and it's just fun, and it's a wonderful activity you can do with your family. Like I play with my children. When my son has his buddies over, we play, you know, just for fun and chips and bragging rights, basically, right? So I'm really kind of on a mission to increase awareness outside of the poker community. At the same time, obviously, we're engaging more women, but getting more people just in general, like you said, maybe they got a girlfriend or a grandma or a mom who's never even thought about maybe playing poker. Let's engage them. Let's give them free education. Let's get them playing online and learning the concepts of position and how to play position and use it to your advantage, and you know, how to pause and really think about things and strategize, and what are my odds of this, and so forth. So it's a process, and you know, as we all know, we can learn pretty easily, but we want to improve, you know, and really get good. That takes time.
As I said, it's a minute to learn, it's a lifetime to master. I mean, it's really what it is, right?
And that's why we're still learning. It's a lifetime to master.
Right. I mean, the moment you feel like you have the game, that's when the game's going to bite you in your butt, because there's no way. And the game is evolving all the time. And again, for all of my listeners, you know, you listen to all these people who come on the show, the world champions, they talk about strategies, and the strategies have changed so much over the last 15 years.
They have.
And
like things like
even like incredible about this game.
Yeah, I mean, even the game itself, like you say, is evolving. I mean, how do we know? I mean, this game has been played for years, right? It started out in Paris and people were playing as poker, and it came over on the ships, and the settlers were actually playing poker way back a long time ago. But it's still evolving. Like all of a sudden we have big blind ante. Oh, you know, who would have
Right.
thought that?
Right.
And actually
Right.
we had an event recently, and one of the ladies, actually the lady who won, she had never played big blind ante.
Mhm.
So she said, I was very confused. What's with the blinds? And I don't. And so we realized, okay, she plays a lot of cash, and there's no big blind ante because that's a tournament concept.
Of course.
And when
Right.
the last time she played a couple of years ago, we didn't have big blind ante.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
I had to explain to her, because later she said, I don't think the dealer was handling the game, and I didn't know what the blinds were, and why did I have to pay twice? But regardless, she won the tournament, right? So I thought,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So,
Right.
like we say, anybody can play, and it's like in sports. You know the term in sports, any given Sunday, which
Right.
means you can win. Like if it's the stars are aligned, this is your day, you're going to win. Even if you have
Right.
one chip, like we've seen people with one chip and
Sure.
they've won. So never give up. And
Right.
that's also part of what I talk about in the TEDx and in the book. Never give up. That one chip can take you to a championship.
So when is your book going to be coming out?
So we're hoping to drop it June 1, so in time for the WSOP. And we'll do some book signings and so forth, but I'm super excited. And as I mentioned earlier, you're collabing on, the chapter about reading people.
Right.
I think Home Youth is talking about strategic thinking. Maria Ho is talking about emotional discipline. Moneymakers talking about patience. So we have a list of luminaries that have been so generous with their time to collaborate with me on this book, because it is important to increase awareness about poker outside of the community. Because
Right.
a lot of people who are writing poker books, actually, they're writing to a poker player.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Well,
when you talk about strategy and satellites and the mindset of the game, like we're already poker players, so we're buying those books because we want to improve our game and study.
right.
But I'm talking to people outside of the poker community.
Right. Right. Well, it sounds great. Is there a title yet for it?
Yes, the title. Okay. Just when you asked me, I just blanked on it. Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry. Poker for Life. Play the game. Train your brain.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk more with Lena about her life in poker, kind of her background, and also some other interesting things that you may have heard in the news as well that have also related to somebody you mentioned, Chris Moneymaker. But we'll talk about that more when we return here on the Bernard Lee Poker Show.